Look at that one.
We put a number out there that we've rescued about 10,000 plants at this point, which is no small number. There's so much of this material that's going to waste and needs to be in people's landscaping. My name is Jerry Mole, and I'm one of the founders of the Native Plant Rescue Squad. Joy Grissom and I are both gardeners and landscapers, and we both have interest in native plants. Between that interest and then seeing development happen, we would see development sites, and here are these plants that we're desperately trying to learn about. We saw that they were being bulldozed under. And these plants that we were trying to get into people's gardens as well, because they're great landscape plants. So basically there's a resource, these native plants, that we saw not being utilized because development is going to happen. We're not anti-development, but we thought, what if we form relationships with builders, developers, foresters, and they can give us a call before the bulldozers come in. We can get this plant material and then work to get this planted in people's landscapes. So it was kind of a combination of things with our interest in native plants and then seeing a resource going unutilized. We started the Native Plant Rescue Squad in the spring of 2015. We had been doing some rescues before that, and that's part of what gave us the idea to formalize this. One of the reasons why this is an amazing place to do what we're doing is because East Tennessee has one of the most diverse populations of native plants in the world. It's amazing. It's a huge part of our heritage here, really, is this biodiversity. So the plants that we rescue, I think there's like 457 endangered plants, like in this area, a huge number of endangered plants. What we're focused on is getting as much plant material that we can from these sites that's going to be dug up and getting it into people's landscapes.
It all became possible because we knew the property owner, and it being 50 acres and selectively logging certain areas, that became an opportunity, like, let's just rescue and see what we can, what we can learn about and offer to the community, along with the education of why they're important.
An example of a forester or a logging project is where we are now. This is a selective logging site. The pines were diseased with pine beetle, so they really needed to take out the pines for the health of this forest. And this site, they want to do like forest farming of medicinal herbs and things like that, and they're kind of very eco-friendly landowners. The cutting of this site took a year, so we learned a lot about what would transplant. We've been received amazingly well. We had no idea how we would be received. We continue to put ourselves out to encourage more relationships, but the relationships that we do have been great. We try to totally respect what's going on the site. We don't want to get in the way of the development, but if the development is going to happen and the plants are going to be destroyed, we want to be able to come in and take them before the bulldozers come. All we need really is a GPS coordinate and a timeline. And we have a contract that we present to the landowner. But yeah, the reception has been great. We also have residential sites. Somebody will call us up and say, hey, somebody's going to come in, they're going to tear all this stuff out. There's a lot of natives. We don't have anywhere, for them to go. Can you come out and get them? We have a clear-cut site right now that's, I think, 64 acres. It's, it's close to the Smoky Mountains. It's a lot of native material.
It really doesn't. We plant.
So some of the local varieties of things that you might find at our booth at the Market Square Farmers Market are spring ephemerals like trillium and bloodroot, Dutchman's breeches, Solomon seal. The list is just huge. And then there's prairie plants. We have coneflower, we have black-eyed Susan, we have brown-eyed Susan, we have purple coneflower, late blooming thoroughwort, asters, we have native asters. So we also rescue native trees and shrubs. Some of them would be sassafras, I think hemlock, dogwoods, azaleas, rhododendrons, all kinds of native plants. Our selection of native plants is probably 70 or 80 native plant varieties is what we generally have in stock, and that's growing all the time. If you go towards native plants, there's plenty of them that are really bright and showy, but they're also some of them are pretty subtle, but no less beautiful. So some of these native plants are delicate, and when you find it, it's just magic.
That's a celandine poppy.
We both feel like it's super important that people plant these native plants. They're beautiful, if for no other reason than plant them because they're gorgeous. But then, you know, butterflies are gorgeous too, and like all these other animals. So thinking about your yard or where you live as habitat and changing that mindset.
There's this sensitive and fine-tuned way of trying to get through to people who are going to prefer what their neighbor's planting or what's, you know, commonly used, what looks neat, what they saw in a magazine, things like that. And introducing them to something that's more wild, maybe less unkempt. But when you say the word butterflies and birds, it opens their eyes. And then you're able to open that dialogue as well to why it's important for biodiversity and conservation. There has been a moment every time we've gone that we find some treasure, because we're still learning about a lot of these species, whether it be the ginseng or the golden seal or some rare orchid. That's all good and well, but when we see something that we've never seen before and we have to go to the book to figure out what it is, it's pretty exciting.
It really is a way for people to connect to our heritage here in East Tennessee. Knowing these plants, being able to walk out my door and see a bloodroot, you know, underneath the azalea is a connection to place and a connection to East Tennessee. And to me, that's a really, really special thing to have these plants right there with me. Did you see any pictures from the